4, 3, 2, 1. Buckle your seatbelts. Batten down the hatches. Coming to you live from the Blazar Podcast Studios in Space City, Texas. It's time once again for the Capital Catalyst Show, the podcast for entrepreneurs to learn the secrets of attracting, raising, and closing capital from high net worth investors. Dedicated to your success, this is the Capital Catalyst Show. Now here's your host, Brad Blazar.
Everybody, welcome back. It is your host of the Capital Catalyst Show, Brad Blazar, coming to you live from Space City, Texas. That's right, we're here in Houston. Today, I've got an exciting guest joining me. I actually met this individual and we quickly bonded. We quickly clicked. He came to one of my events and we've been, I guess, great friends ever since. He is today a professional real estate entrepreneur, a global coach, and also an author. Wonderful book I'm actually making my way through right here. His book, Achieved, with my good friend Kevin Harrington and Robert Allen right on the cover. I recommend that y'all go out and pick up a copy of that. But Sunil, how are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome, and I appreciate being here on your podcast.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you. You know, you have an amazing story. You started your career obviously in the police force and obviously got into real estate, and it changed your life. You became obviously very affluent today. You kind of share that message and you share your teachings with people that are in your tribe. But can you spend a couple minutes just kind of sharing for our audience kind of what it was that led you to make that change from what you were doing in your, I call it your prior life, right? Your policeman, to what you're doing today?
Awesome. Well, my story actually starts all the way back to India, where we used to live in a place, no running water, no electricity, no washrooms. And really, father was a factory man, a piece of fruit, somebody, he would, if he brought an apple and we made 5 pieces, we would fight for that, who has the bigger piece, because we were 5 people in the family. So, and in 1981, I was fortunate enough to migrate to Canada, Toronto, and 1990, I became a police officer. And all my life, people were telling me that, you're not going to amount to anything. Your grades are no good. You're not a good student. You can't do this. You can't do that. Go to school, get good grades, get a good job. And that's what I did. I got a great job and went into policing profession. And about 15 years into the policing, my wife came to me. And by the time I'm married, we have 2 children. My wife comes to me and says, we're going to have a divorce. And then we were fighting. And then the idea was that I was spending too much time, days and nights, and bringing clients, basically, when I say clients, my cases with me. Right. So bottom line was I quit the policing because of that reason. And the book that you held up with Robert Allen and Kevin Harrington, I took a course from Robert Allen and paid $5,000 for it. We all need to invest. And to me, in 2005, $5,000 was like $50,000 today, because I never did that before. And that course changed my life, because what Robert talks about is how do you buy properties, no money down, and even if you don't have lots of money. And Brad, as you know this, and a lot of media has covered this, that I bought and sold 77 properties in 1 year alone, the first year.
Wow, it's amazing.
And that's what basically brought me to the idea of how do I help people. And as part of the intro, I want to say to you is this: I was a shy guy. Not in a million years did I think I will be an international public speaker. Not in a million years did I think I was going to be a 7 times #1 best-selling author, because my English grammars, my spelling still today is not the best. But I have been able to do that because of the belief, the mentors who will believe that they believed in me and all that. And my goal is truly to help make 100 millionaires or more. And then, of course, I'll up my goal when we get there.
No, I love that. Obviously, both of us are coaches. I've got, of course, my tribe. We're global today. I love the fact that every day I'm speaking to people in different countries around the world. It might be Australia. And then an hour later, I'm talking to someone in the UK. And then later in the day, I'm talking to a Canadian. And then I'm talking to someone maybe in Brazil. I mean, I'm going around the world every day. You're doing something very, very similar. But in your program, Sunil, What is the one thing maybe that your program did for a client or someone that you were mentoring that you did not expect it to do?
Well, the biggest thing that I represent is the hope that if you're not a perfect, if you don't look the certain way, if English is not your first language, if you didn't have the best marks in schools, if people told you you're not going to amount to anything, I am that person that has inspired people to go to the next level. Brad, I'm going to tell you one thing, that public speaking was death to me. It was like, even in high school, if I got up in front of 20, 30 kids to do a presentation, it was death to me. It was something. But today, as you know, I've been so blessed to share stages with Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Robert Kiyosaki, Jack Canfield, Brian Tracy, some of the amazing people on the planet. And one of the things that I have been able to do and help a lot of my clients is to show them that something that you think that is impossible or something that you're afraid of today, tomorrow it could become your passion. Yes. It could actually become your passion, because it has become my passion all over the world to help people. So when I was looking at real estate clubs in Canada, and I was looking at it, and one of the things that I realized, majority of the REIA clubs, they call them in US, real estate clubs or whatever you want to call them, they focused on one of the major things, which was education. So I truly believe education is really important, especially, the event, like the event that you did. One of the reasons that I came to your event as your VIP guest and your friend was to say, I want to spend some time with Brad, because he's doing amazing things in the area of raising capital and something. So I've raised millions of dollars, but you have done even more than that. So my goal was to find people who have done better than me and not be the smartest kid in the room.
Yeah.
So when I was looking at real estate clubs for me, most of them were focusing on the initial education, but not on the access. You give access to your students about raising money or whatever. So I wanted to have a doing club. And the difference between learning club and doing club is that I actually wanted my students to go out and buy properties, whether it's no money down, cash flowing properties in Canada, United States. And we bought thousands of properties with my students in Canada and United States. And I found that there were two hurdles, main hurdles. One was people didn't know how to find good deals. Second, they did not know how to find money. Those were the main two hurdles. There were others, but they were. So basically I specialized, and what I did was I said, who do I want to be? So I said, I want to be an elite club. So my elite club, we charge $10,000 right now, as we are speaking, per year, annual membership. Jack Canfield is a member. Kevin Harrington is a member. Robert Allen is a member. Brian Tracy is a member of my club, and many millionaires and multimillionaires are my club. So what I've realized that if I put you into the right context, if I put you in front of the right group, and if I train you what you can do, then chances of your massive success is huge, because the education plus connections plus access equals success.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I would confirm that 100%. I believe that in life, you're one connection away from dramatically seeing tremendous transformation.
Absolutely.
Changing your life, taking your career to that next level. And the problem I think a lot of people have is they don't understand that. They're not constantly out there, number one, adding value to people's lives by asking them, that they're somewhat apprehensive about going and approaching someone like a Kevin Harrington or a Robert Allen. And, much like you, I've shared the stage with a lot of those big names as well. But what a lot of people don't understand is you need to approach these people and say, what can I do for you? And once they tell you, it's then following through to build that relationship and build that trust so that that other person becomes a strategic partner of yours, so that you can build on that relationship. And there are people out there certainly that do that much better than others. I know that you've mastered that, because you've got great connections, you've got great relationships. But one question I do want to kind of go back to, because you were sharing a story about, growing up in a I guess a family that was very simple. Your dad, as you said, basically was a hard worker. Do you feel that maybe the environment that you were brought up in, seeing maybe your parents, not necessarily struggle, but not having perhaps some of the things that you enjoy in life now, gave you kind of what I call that burning desire, where from a very young age you were wanting more? Or was there a work ethic maybe that was instilled with you? Because I believe to some degree, not in all cases, but to some degree, kids grow up and become whoever that is they become based on maybe the work ethic or the struggle, or they didn't want to be the same place that their parents were, and that's what inspired them to work harder and get more. Do you feel that maybe growing up in that environment led you to where you are today?
I mean, there's no questions about that. Main thing to understand is that if you wanted to learn what's the value of relationships, value of money, value of success, if I did not go through all these struggles, yes, failures, as well as hearing my mom and dad fight about money, relatives fight about money, sure, and saying that on one hand we need money, on the other hand saying money is the root of all evil, for example. It was a contradicting stuff. But what I didn't know myself was that I felt like I was a little different from other people, even though like I was not a good student, and even sure, I just knew that I'm going to do something different, and no one really supports you, generally speaking, from a family point of view, until you become success. So yes, staying and growing up in a humble family grounds you, because even today people look at me and go, man, you're like so successful, and yet it's just like every day. And this is what I work on, actually. Mm-hmm. I never want to be in a position where people look at me and say, I can't even talk to this guy first. And I know some people do that, but when people get to see me and meet me, like, even at your event, everybody just becomes friends, and I just become like every day, right? It's like every day. And main thing to understand is that those who have struggled, those who have lived in, let's say, poor families, those who had some challenges, that is your gift. Yeah. Absolutely. That is your gift. People ask me, what can I write about? What can I teach people that has not been done before? The one thing that separates you, Brad, me, and somebody else is their story, right, is their real authentic story, right? Yeah. Nobody wants to hear that I was born in a millionaires family. Then I grew up and I had everything in my life. Then my father gave me $100 million for free, and then I started a business, and look, I'm doing well. Nobody wants to hear that. Right. People want to be inspired by saying, oh, Sunil had nothing, and now he's a multimillionaire. Now he's on big stages. Now he's helping thousands of people all over the world. That inspires people, because many people will tell them, don't do it. Don't do this. Don't do this. Go get a job. Be secure. Don't fly too high. Right. Don't be greedy, right? You and I are people who are saying, what's your goal? What do you want to do? I want to do this. Let's do it.
Right. Well, I mean, I think the biggest problem many people have, it's the limiting belief, it's the fear. For sure. An object at rest tends to stay at rest, right?
Yes.
You need to create that forward motion. And once an object is in motion, it tends to stay in motion. You get that inertia, you start exercising that muscle, it starts building your confidence. You start instilling and creating the habits of success. And it's funny because I've interviewed literally hundreds of people over the last couple of years, and some of them are, like you said, global leaders, the John Maxwell's, the Brandon Dawson's, the Bobby Castro's. And what I find is, number one, is they have an unwavering confidence. They believe in themselves. They know what they're capable of. They've kind of pushed their fears aside. They face those fears to move through them to accomplish the level of success that they currently have. But the other thing is they all have basically built a foundation around what I call daily habits. Do you have, I guess what you would call maybe daily habits, for example? Do you have a morning routine? And if you do have a morning routine, I'd love to learn it and kind of have you share that with our listeners.
Sure. One of the biggest things that I would tell all my high-end mentees, students, is that because I'm in real estate, and I say the most important investment asset that you have is you, not real estate, right? So my morning habits were inspired by a gentleman named Robin Sharma, who wrote The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, 5 a.m. And I'm going to be going to India and sharing stage with him. And I took his idea and then made it my own. So let me give you an idea that could make anybody wants to be successful. They want to get great marks. They want great relationships, and they want to have millions of dollars in their banks, whatever, or they want to grow their income to the next level, is to work on yourself. So what I do is this. I have what I call a 5 a.m. club program and a workbook as well. And what happens is, and I get up at 4. I get up majority of the time at 4 a.m. And when I get up at 4 a.m. In the morning, and what I do is I don't, let me tell you what I don't do, and then I'll tell you what I do. I don't look at my computer. I don't look at my phone. I don't look at TV. I don't look at any social media. I don't eat anything. I don't drink coffee. I don't drink tea. I don't drink any caffeine. I don't put any poison, anything like that. So those are things I don't do. What I do is I get up and I hydrate myself, because we know we're dehydrated throughout the night. And then what I do is I come down, and I will have my notebook. I did this today. And I sit right here. This is my own home. So I talk about what is amazing is that you make money and growth, your growth comes in if you have access to your genius.
Right.
Because people pay you for your genius, for your work, for your adding value to other people. So this becomes my genius chair. And what is a genius chair? A genius chair is a chair or sofa or wherever you sit, you declare that to be a genius chair. And then I sit there in my genius chair in the morning, have my water, I boil my water, put a little bit of lemon, and that's what I sip throughout the time. And then I write, first thing I write is, what am I grateful for? So I'll write maybe 100 things, including like air, earth, Canada, people in my life, mom, dad, everybody. I write everything like that. Then once I'm done with what am I grateful for, then I write my affirmations, which are in present tense. I am a multimillionaire, or I've made 100 millionaires. Sure. I'm financially free. These are examples of affirmations. So I write these affirmations every day. So first is gratitude. Second is affirmations. The third page that I write, that's a full page, is my goals. The goals and affirmations are different from a point of view. Is affirmation is present tense, goals are future tense, with a deadline. So, for example, if somebody wants to make $10 million, you would say, I, Sunil Tulsiani, will make $10 million by December 31st, 2027, as an example. Okay. So then I write this, and this is my routine every day. Then the last one is, how am I going to plurk today? Now, most people won't know what plurking is because I made this up. Yeah, plurking is a word, it comes from my mind. Playing and working is plurking. Yeah. Plurking stands for having fun and success. Plurking stands for playing and making money. Plurking stands for you getting lost into your craft and being successful. Sure. See, when I was growing up, people kept asking me, do you want love or money? Do you want fun or respect? And so we have to replace the or with and. I love it. So plurking is playing and growing. Plurking is having fun and making money. Plurking is impacting the world and having money, having relationships, having great kids, having great spouse, and having the love. So why not ask the question, would you like to have love and money and success and relationships and families. Why can't we have them all?
Well, absolutely.
So then I write, how am I going to plurk today? How am I going to play? I'm going to have fun today and grow today. So then it's essentially my to-do list. So I'm going to have great time today with the podcast with Brad today was in my notebook today, right? And I'm going to have a great conversation with this gentleman, this partner in India, which I just had just before you. So these are the things that become to do. Even the things that normally are not fun for me, I want to put it into a context that's going to be fun for me.
Absolutely.
So I do this every day. And based on that, I have a mastermind workbook. It's called How to Attain Time and Money Freedom. And it is a scientific proven fact, Brad, from all over the world, that if you do something for 66 days in a row, then you install the habits that you were talking about. You install the habits, and it's harder to go back to the old habits than the new one that you just installed.
Exactly.
So basically, this is what I do. I just when I start with my my students, my mentees, I say, what skill do you want? What do you want to do? And then we basically say, for next 66 days, you're going to fill this form and you're going to do it this way. And that is my morning routine that has become now fun for me. It's not fun in the beginning to get up at 5 in the morning. Nobody wants to do it. And don't get to the point and don't ever think that I will do it when I feel like it. There are a lot of courses, personal growth courses, they talk about feeling. If you don't feel like it, no, nobody feels like in the beginning when they're changing their habits to get up early. Nobody wants to get up at 5 if they're used to getting up at 7. It's just not possible. So,
but I mean, that gets to the point though. You got to do it, right? You got to get out of your comfort zone. And you know, the great thing about plurking is I see a book in that. I see a book on the horizon.
Coming. It's coming.
I think it's a great concept. And you know, if you're plurking, the work you're doing doesn't seem like work, right? Then you look forward to waking up every day. The problem I think a lot of people have is we get to Wednesday. Thank God it's hump day. My God, we're finally to Wednesday. It's the middle of the week, only got 2 more days to deal with. And then you get to the weekend. And for most people, the weekend becomes what? It's a celebration away from all the shit they hate, which is their job and the work they're doing in life. And so what do? They're boozing it up. They're having a great time. They're playing. Your weekend should be a respite to focus on things that are important to you, to rest, rejuvenate, exercise, but then also plan for success so that you're living life on the offensive when you hit the office or you get to work plurking come Monday morning. You know, I spend a couple of hours every Sunday, quiet space, and I plan the next week. I just don't show up Monday morning without an idea as to what the hell's going to happen, because then you're living life on the defensive. Then you're taking whatever life just throws your way. But if you plan for success, much like you do, and you sit down and you say, what are my goals? What are the big things I want to accomplish this week? What are the big tasks? What are the big projects I can delegate? Now you're living on the offensive. See, now you're able to move forward in life and do those big things, accomplish those big goals. And I use a similar process. It's an acronym called SMART when it comes to goals. SMART, they got to have specificity to them. They got to be specific. They got to be measurable. They got to be actionable, something you can take action on. They got to be somewhat realistic, and they got to be, like you said, time bound. You know, I want to be worth $5 million by this date in whatever, 2026. Then you can break it down into the smaller increments. And even though it seems like a big goal, you realize, well, now that I broke it down into bite-sized chunks, it's actually pretty attainable. You know, now at least I know what I need to do. I've got a set of railroad tracks. I know if I do this and then I do that, that goal becomes much, much more realistic to me. You know, one question I always like to ask people that we host on the Capital Catalyst Show is, earlier you mentioned that in your business in real estate, you've obviously used OPM, other people's money. Robert Kiyosaki talks about this in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He says, look, to all the readers, understanding that you need to use other people's money, the principle of using OPM is a key fundamental principle in building wealth. Because, you know, people can create wealth by themselves. but you can go a whole lot farther and a whole lot faster when you start leveraging investor capital, start learning the skills, learning these principles. And the whole real premise of why we started the Capital Catalyst Show is to teach people some of these skills, to share with them what others have done. At what point in your real estate, I guess, career, Sunil, did you transition from doing deals on your own to where you made the realization, man, I need to start getting some investor capital? Was that, early on, or was it a little bit later? And can you share maybe how you've gone about bringing investors into your business?
Very good question. I believe that this is the basic scaling question, because you and I both have 24 hours, and yet you and I could do a lot more than somebody who's not scaling or not leveraging. Mm-hmm. So when I ask people, first of all, people think that other people's money isn't sort of an advanced concept, but the truth is, almost 99% of the people, especially in North America, are doing OPM. How? Well, when they go to buy a house, let's say a house is $100,000. Let's say they put 20% down. The 80% comes from the bank. Well, you in essence have used other people's money in that case. So that's a normal way. So when you look at OPM now this way, you're like, oh, I'm actually doing it. And then so the second thing to understand is that when you use OPM, meaning other people's money as investors, pretend they were banks, pretend they are credit unions, pretend whatever. The point here is anytime you used credit card, so you went and used your credit card today, and you didn't have to pay for it today. You had to wait for 30 days before you pay it. And if you want to pay the whole amount, or you want to pay monthly payment by, you have that option, and there's charges to that. But the point is, you're already using OPM, especially majority of the people on the planet, especially North America, Europe, UK, even in places like India, they're using credit. When you go to a car dealership and you say, I want to buy a car, and they do the same thing. Car is 50 grand. You put in 5,000, or you put in zero.
Finance.
It's OPM. It's OPM. So I want you to know that the first aspect of OPM is actually in your mind, the being afraid to say, oh, I don't use OPM. Well, yes, you do. You already use it anyways, okay? And because if you don't pay your bills for cars, they're going to take your car away, and credit issues and all. Same thing with the mortgage. If you don't do that, then so you already use OPM. So the growth of OPM that I think you're suggesting is using other investors' money to be able to buy this. And this is what a lot of no money down offered. So I'll tell you how I found the investors. Before I do that, there's OPM, other people's money. Then there's OPE, other people's efforts. Then there's OPR, other people's relationships. Very, 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 very important aspect. There are others, but these are very important aspects, because relationships really is before the OPM.
Right.
It's just the way it is, right? So when did I start doing it? When I took that course, I was scared. I'm like, what? I'm gonna, because I was a shy guy. And the idea of going and asking somebody, I felt like it was sleazy. It was bad. It's like, who's going to give me the money? It's not for me. It's for the big corporations. Like, those were the thoughts that were going through. Who's going to do this with me? But I read that. I paid for a lot of money for it. That's another thing. When you pay, they say that you pay attention, right? You pay and you go, okay, well, I paid for it. I'm just going to have to do something with it. I don't want to waste it. So when I paid and others were saying, don't do it, this course was saying to do it, I said, I'm going to listen to this successful person rather than unsuccessful people. So how I found most of my money was one major way that I teach all over the world. And it is the COI, Center of Influence. And so what I did was I went to events and I said to myself, what is the highest level of tickets I can buy at this event? Is it, let's say they have 3 levels, general, in between somewhere, and the top level, let's call it. And the top level allows me to meet the speakers, break bread with the right people, meet some of the center of influences, investors, and all that stuff. So what I did was, number one, I mainly went to paid real estate events. Now, if you're in business, if you're in, anything else, you would go to a paid event versus a free event. And if I did go to a free event, I knew that the free event was not going to be very valuable for me in a long term, but I would have to take another extra step. Meaning when I go to the free event and they said to me something like, you want to join my mastermind? I'm like, I know that's where the money is going to be made, not on the initial part, right? So I did opposite to what I would have done before that. Before I would have said, which is the free event, don't pay for the event.
Right.
Pay the least amount if they are asking me to pay. Let's say if there's a $50 versus $500, I would just go, well, it's the same room. Why am I going to pay $500? Yep. Just like I used to do with the plane, right? Business class versus economy. Why would I pay whatever? So what I realized with my mentor was that if I'm sitting amongst giants, legends, investors, center of influences, then chances are they're going to see me and they're going to talk to me. I'm going to talk to them, and we're going to have a genuine, real kind of conversation that goes something like this. Isn't this amazing? Do you, what brought you here? They're like, I'm looking for passive income. I knew immediately when I heard those words that this person is an investor because he wants to buy properties. Then I would say, this is what I say to them. I didn't say to them, give me your money. I say to them, oh, that's awesome. Tell me more. And they told me more and more and more. And finally I said, you know what, from time to time, I come across some crazy discounted cash flowing properties. Would you like me to send you those if I come across? Not that I have it. Right? And I told them, I got nothing right now.
Exactly.
But when I do come across something, would you like me to send it to you? And you know what? 99% of them, because they told me, they said yes.
Absolutely.
Right? And so when I was raising money, I realized it was the relationships that were most important. And where do you build relationships? Yes, we are in the COVID, post-COVID Zoom arena right now as well. But I can tell you, nothing better than to build the relationship with belly to belly.
Totally agree 100%. We talk about something in our training called the 4-step blueprint. And what I explain to people, and I've been doing this for a long time, as you know, we've raised $2 billion. People invest first with their heart.
Yes.
It's a relationship that you're creating with that other person. They like you, they trust you, they see that you can become successful. After they write the check, they justify it with logic. Yes. So the investment has to make sense, but man, they invest with their heart. It's all about that. And I love what you said about telling people that right now, I just don't have an investment for you. What you're essentially doing is you're getting them subconsciously to say, yeah, put me on a list, call me back when you have something you think I can get excited about. We talk about something in our coaching called the validation phrase. And what I explain to people is, look, if you're going to pitch an investment to somebody before they have invited you to call them, you're just spinning your wheels. Yes. Because when it comes time for them to write a check, you're going to get every excuse we've ever heard. They're going to be very evasive. But if you follow your approach to say, right now, I don't have something, but I do run across these deals from time to time. Would you like me to put you on my list? And they say, yes. Now you're calling because there's something you perceive they might get excited about. But you've obviously done that successfully. And I love what you said earlier about the different types of OPM, OPE, and OPR, because I've never heard that before. And that really resonates with me tremendously.
Absolutely.
One thing that I do want to ask you is, you've obviously been very successful. You've traveled the world. You've shared the stage. You've written books with the likes of Shark Tank's Kevin Harrington. If you could turn back time and talk to your 18, 20-year-old self, Sunil, what would you tell him?
Well, I just had a conversation with a 22-year-old young lady who is amazing, struggling, and yet amazing entrepreneur. And so what I would say to you is, first of all, know this, that whenever you're going to do something amazing, your parents, your relatives, your friends are brainwired for one main thing: go to school, get a good job, and just be safe. That's really what everybody, majority of the people are. And that power, it's like a gravity. Yeah. So if you have 7.5 billion people saying, stay poor, go to job, struggle financially, money's a bad thing, blah, blah, blah. It's naturally that you're going to, that power is going to pull you. You need to now know that. So therefore, you need to know that you have to do something opposite. And that is this. If your regular friends were not wealthy, if your parents, uncles, friends, in my case, that's what happened. If any of that stuff is happening where you're telling them, this is my dream, what I want to do, and they're not successful, if they're telling me you're crazy, telling you that you're crazy, if they're telling you don't do it, if they're telling you this is a stupid idea, if they're telling you just be quiet and just go get a good, secure job, and your goal is different, you're not like them, that means you're going the right way.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay? All right, now let's reverse it. If a lot of people are telling you, regular people that you see working and all, a lot of people are coming to you saying, Otto boy, great work, keep going, you're awesome, we believe in you, trust you, you're going the wrong way. Because you're going to get to their results.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's number one. Realize that don't think that people are going to line up and say, we're proud of you in the beginning.
Yeah.
Until you become successful, that's a different story.
Sure. Yeah.
That's a different story. So that's number one. Number two, go get a skill. Go get a skill that is going to turn your idea into monetization. So become what I call CAM person. CAM stands for Client Attraction Machine. CAM stands for Customer Attraction Machine. CAM stands for Center of Influence Attraction Machine. CAM basically turns your idea. CAM stands for Capital Attraction Machine, right? So if you don't do this, you could be the greatest artist. If you don't figure out how do I find these clients? How do I find my investors? How do I do this? Chances are you're going to impact small group of people, if any. Okay, so that's number two, is to become, the CAM person. Number three, realize the most important asset is you. So every day, listen to podcasts, listen to something like this, read a book that is talking about how to grow this. We talked about Think and Grow Rich, and there's a book that I really say to I'm selfish here, but it's a book called Science of Getting Rich, which was initially written by Wallace D. Wallace in 1910. Wow. And it was actually produced in 1910. It was written probably late 1800. So people think and Grow Rich was the original book that really changed a lot of people's life. It was actually Science of Getting Rich was the first one that we knew. And then after that in the 1930s is Think and Grow Rich came. And then now everybody talks about it. Sure. That's, in fact, Bob Proctor, who recently passed away, he basically have built his entire business on this. Rhonda Barnes, who made the movie called The Secret, she was going through tough times. A book came into her, was this book. She then did The Secret with all these people. So get involved in reading the book minimum twice. First time you read it. The second time you take your marker out, your highlighter out, and underline things. Get another book beside it. Write down your notes in your notebook and start writing what you learn. So you don't read a book, you study a book that is amazing. Okay. And so I would say Think and Grow Rich, Science of Getting Rich is very good. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is also very, very important book as amongst the first three. And then any books that you wrote and I wrote, of course, people say, let's plug it in. Why not? Right? I mean, look, it's important to do. But so so know that your school is not, as a young kid, my school did not end when I finished school. My school just started in real life.
Powerful. That's powerful.
Last thing is to realize almost everything that the school taught you for entrepreneurship, it was not correct from a success point of view. Yes, when you go to school, you learn how to write, you do your mathematics, you learn some of the common sense stuff. Okay, we need schools for that. But if a school taught you that you should do it on your own, No, not entrepreneurship. You should do it with somebody else, collaborate.
Yep.
School taught you that if you are the smartest person in the classroom, we're going to clap for you, right? If you're the smartest person, we'll get you on the front of and we'll give you a certificate to say, here's the best students and all that stuff. In real life, don't be the best student in the classroom. Change the classroom. Number 2. Okay. Number 3, school says don't copy. You know, when you and I are sitting across from each other, it's a mathematical exam. You get 98%, I get 50%. And I sat beside you and I said, Brad, can you explain how this works? Can I copy you? You'll be like, the teacher's going to say, oh, that's illegal. Don't do it.
Yep.
In business, that's the only and the fastest way to do it. Copy somebody successful and do it. Next is when you're learning from a teacher, a business teacher, that accounting teacher does not have accounting business.
Yep.
So they're teaching something that they read so that they can just repeat what you read. Yep. They read, and then they have no idea how to run a business, but they're teaching you how to become a business person. No, they're teaching you to become an employee.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So in real world, what I would do is I would go, I wonder who I like. I like their ideas. I like their aura. I like their success, and say, I want to copy.
That
I
person.
want to learn from that person.
Yeah.
Right. And last but not least, 25-year-old success idea came from Harvard Business School, which is they did a study for 25 years. And they said, even though people went to Harvard Business School, even though they were in the same classroom, even though they had a similar experience, 25 years later, only few of them became successful. So they said, why? Why is that? 25 years later, why? So they went to all these successful people and they said, what is your secret to success independent of each other? What is the secret to success? Of course, they said commonly few things. Number 1, it's the reference group that you associate with on a consistent basis.
It's powerful. Yep.
You become who you hang out with. Absolutely. Is a scientific proof. So if you do these things, these steps, and on a consistent basis, you cannot not be successful.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree. It's, you become the average of the 5 to 7 people you spend the majority of your time with. If you want to up your game, get rid of the duds and hang out with studs. That's what I like to say. But look, you may not able to get rid of your parents or your spouse, for example, but you can definitely find new ones and then spend more time with them, right? And then Neil's got a big family. He's adopted like 400 kids around the world that are now part of his family. No, but
exactly.
Yeah, but you're right, because you will have the naysayers. I mean, for example, when I shared my dream with my mom years ago about being a global coach, getting on stages, writing books, first thing she said is, that is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. You're not no Tony Robbins. What do you know about coaching people, about helping people transform? And she was comparing me, obviously, to Tony Robbins, who, in her mind was like a Zig Ziglar or any one of these other famous people that she grew up with. She said, you're nowhere close to those guys. And I said, I don't need to be today, but I will be someday. And, the funny thing, of course, is that I went through that journey. My siblings, my cousins came out with my first book, which is the one on the poster behind me, On the Wings of Eagles. It became the #1 book on a major literary blog in the United Kingdom for young entrepreneurs. I took that, I started sending it to schools here in the United States that had programs of entrepreneurship. Then I started getting calls by the schools. Oh, Mr. Blazar, thank you so much. The dean of the business school wants to invite you to speak. I didn't even know I could get paid to speak. I'm just showing up like a knucklehead. But then I got calls from radio stations. Hey, we heard about you. Would you like to be interviewed on the radio? Sure. And I finally went to my wife and I said, there's a fork in the road here. I have no idea where their path is going, but I've always had this dream of helping people, of being on stages. And obviously she was scared. I had a great job making mid-upper 6 figures. We had all the benefits, 401k, health insurance, et cetera. But I'm so glad I made the decision and I committed. And I said to myself, there is no plan B.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. That's
today,
awesome.
here we got a global platform. We got students all over the world. We're building the biggest tribe. I've shared the stage like you with some amazing people that today are close personal friends. I mean, I can pick up the phone and call Beyonce's dad, Matt Knowles, Brandon Dawson, who's Grant's partner, Kevin Harrington, right here in my cell phone, all these amazing people, much like yourself. But it's having the belief in, my friend, Coach Michael Burt says the difference between highly successful people and most others is that they've learned to block out the noise. It's like
Yes.
a horse with blinders. You see the race
Focus.
horses, you're focused, you know where you're going, and you don't listen to the noise. And I get this every day on Facebook, all the naysayers, all the haters. And Ed Milet said this so well in one of his posts on Instagram. He said, at first, those posts from the haters and the naysayers really bothered me, because the very first thing you want to do is you want to respond to them. But the point he was making is, if they feel that way about you, it's a reflection of really how they feel about themselves. And what Ed's come to realize and what he shared is, I am so thankful that you took the brief 30 to 45 seconds to say something about me in the moment, because obviously it made you feel good. But I empathize with what you're going through and what you're struggling with, because if you feel that bad about yourself, the only way to give you that little boom injection of whatever is to project that feeling onto somebody else. And that's where a lot of the haters and naysayers you see as what I call the trolls that are here on Facebook or Instagram.
Yes.
But, you have to get through that and realize, like you said, man, if you're getting hate, if you're getting the naysayers, you're going in the right direction. But the point I want to make to everybody that listens to this episode is, you got to keep going.
Yes.
Can't give up. You got to see it as a journey, because this ain't a sprint, folks. Sunil's not where he is because he won the race as a sprint. It was a marathon. He's been doing this just like I have for years, but you got to keep going. You got to stay on the course. You've got to maintain that journey, and you will ultimately have that bucket of gold at the end of the rainbow. You'll obviously then have the accolades and the claps from the people that were your naysayers. I mean, my mom and my siblings today, man, they can't believe some of the stuff we're doing, flying in private jets, being on beautiful yachts, traveling to exotic places all around the world, speaking on stages alongside people, writing 3 books, working on the 4th. But, you got to have that commitment, and you got to kind of turn your back to the negativity in order to move forward and have that transformation in your life. One question that I always love to ask people as we kind of wrap up the show and kind of get to the top of the hour here is, what should I have asked you that I didn't know enough to ask, Sunil?
That's a very, very good question. And I think the main thing that I think that people should do is say to themselves that, is there a one person on the planet who has done what I want to do? Is there one person I can watch on YouTube, go on to their events, go to their events, and I know that I look at them and I go, man, they have done it. So if you want to sprint at a certain speed, you want to make certain amount of money, you want to have certain success, you want to become a paid coach, mentor, author, speaker, real estate investor, you want to impact so many people's lives. And it's like, it seems like a big dream where from a point of view of billions of people, because billions of people are average or below that. You look at that and go, is there one person who can prove that this is doable? And if there's one person that you can see for sure, that means it's a proof that you can do it. That's number. And then second thing is, what if there were hundreds of people who did what you want to do? That's even better proof. What if there were thousands of people? So I bet you that whatever you want to do, probably 99.999999% of the people, whatever they're thinking, they can find somebody, they can find somebody's autobiography, they can find somebody's stage to go to say, hey, could you mentor me? Could you help me? I bet you there's at least one person who can do it. And that should be your entire focus, not listening to people who say you can't do it, but just go and say, well, if he did it, then, so you don't even have to be a pioneer. Right. Although pioneers, they'll do well. and the inventors are smart. I'm not an inventor. I don't have a high IQ, but I do know certain things of how to elevate the business to the next level, how to make a lot of money in real estate, how to help people get on stages. I help. If somebody comes to me and says, I want to share a stage with Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Deepak Chopra, Robin Sharma, I can get them there. Like, I know I have the capabilities and the connections to do that. But if somebody says, can you invent a telephone? I can't do that. So that's basically what it is. And before we finish off, what I want to say to everyone here is that I'm going to be shortly in India on December 10th and 11th with Deepak Chopra, and also December 17th and 18th with Robin Sharma. We expect thousands of people there. So if you ever thought about going to India, maybe on a business trip, and you want to come and spend some time with me, you want to meet some amazing, cool, wealthy people in India, maybe you're a real estate investor, maybe you're a speaker, author, coach, mentor, and you want to connect with the right people, I'm inviting you to just send an email to admin@privateinvestmentclub.com. Send it in and say, can you help me with this? Or you're thinking of, you want to attract joint venture partners, you want to grow to the next level as a real estate investor, whether you're in Canada, United States, anywhere in the world, because our members, our club has grown and it's become the top elite real estate club. And you're thinking you want to consider joining an elite club, do business with me in any form, shape, or form, whether it's real estate, whatever. Send Brad, if you can also put that into the
show notes,
notes as well, but admin@privateinvestmentclub.com. And lastly, before I go, I want to give a gift to everybody. The most important money-making book that I personally am going to suggest to you that has changed thousands and thousands of people. And what I did was, during the COVID-19 situation, spent 500 hours of my time, and I rewrote this book in today's easy English language, and it's called Science of Getting Rich. Then what I did was I recorded videos and I recorded audio. So if you want to hear it, you want to watch it, you want to read it, all three options. It's a beautifully designed, simple, yet most powerful book if you want to become rich. It's called The Science of Getting Rich. All you have to do, I'm going to give you the entire program, the entire videos, the audios, and this book digitally. All you do is just send an email to admin@privateinvestmentclub.com. It's my gift to you. I want you, if your goal especially is to make a lot of money during these interesting, upcoming, challenging 2023 times for real estate markets and business, job losses. Some of the interesting things are coming, as we see in UK, Europe, Japan, China, all over the world that's happening. Canada, United States, we're in recession, guys. We're in recession. But don't see recession as a negative thing, because most people will. What happens is during recession, these people lose money, majority of the people, and these small group of people, it just transfers over to them. I want you to be here. That's the book I'd like to gift you guys. It is going to change your life completely.
Love it. A lot of golden nuggets here today. Thank you so much, Sunil, for being a great guest. Thank you so much for sharing your life, your experiences, your wisdom. Folks, if you're listening, I want you to do two things. Number one is, if you haven't already, I want you to click that little button on the bottom and like our episode. And number two, become a subscriber of the Capital Catalyst Show. We're weekly. We're broadcast on every major podcast platform out there, Spotify, Apple, you name it, we're there. But join us weekly as we host some of the biggest, best guests that have used OPM, understand the principles of using capital to scale and grow their business. So, Sunil, thank you once again for being a great guest.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you for having me, and all the best to everybody.
You've been listening to the Capital Catalyst Show with Brad Blazar, the best place for entrepreneurs interested in doing something big in life, having considerably less stress, and a more balanced life. Go to bradblazar.com for more ways to accelerate your success.